Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kero Riri Paddle, and today I'm sitting down with Allison. How are you, Allison?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Awesome. I wanted you on the show because I am obviously super into cosplay, but I am really into your cosplay. You've done so many great fits, and you also are really good at doing makeup as well. I felt that it'd be great to have you on to talk to you about how you got started, some of your favorite characters, what animes you're into, conventions you've been to. But
Mhm.
I'm talking too much. Please take the floor and tell us how you got into cosplay, who you are, and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm Allison. I'm 19 and I've been cosplaying for a couple of years now since October 2016, but I didn't properly start cosplaying like consistently until like 2017. I want to say like September of like 2017. And then I would do back then I would do a lot of like Yuri on Ice cosplays. That was probably like my favorite anime at the time, so I cosplayed that a lot. And kind of just continuously kept shifting into the different series and everything that I was into. I kind of go through these phases every like couple years, I would say, of like different animes or series that I end up liking. So for that period of time, it was like Yuri on Ice, and then it shifted to Sally Face, the video game, and then um, it's just then it was like Mystic Messenger, another game, and stuff like that, just stuff like that. And now it's mostly shifted to Danganronpa, the video game, which is like the stuff I primarily cosplay from, and what I would say had kind of really helped me to grow my account more because it's such a big fan base. And also I think part of that is jumping on the hype train on TikTok for Danganronpa kind of earlier, which is kind of how I feel like got a lot of that started. But yeah, that's mostly that. I kind of started doing makeup. I mean, I always had an interest in makeup from probably the time I was like 12, 13, maybe. I had like no products though, so I remember taking like my mom's like pencil liner and like doing like eyeliner. It was just like it just ended to like half my eye. And I was like, oh, this looks so good. And like, I use like really just very minimal products. I didn't have anything because I didn't know what was good and what was bad and whatever. Over time, I kind of learned, and cosplay was something that really doing cosplay something that really helped to boost my skill in makeup, which is good overall, and it's kind of what brought me to where I am now. Like I'm in makeup school. I'm working on my diploma to become a full-on makeup artist, which is obviously being held back now because I can't go into class because of the pandemic and everything. So, but I kind of started with that, with makeup and everything, and from there I kind of slowly started to grow my style. And now I would just say I don't think I have this super distinctive style compared to like other people, but I still I like my style, and a lot of people seem to like how I do it too. I mostly do guy characters, so it's mostly pretty simple, which also helps a lot. Is like because nothing is super super complicated. But when I do the girl characters that I do like to do, I really like to go all out with the makeup, really heavy like eyeshadow looks and like a lot of blush and everything like that. It's really fun to do that every so often and stuff like that. But I don't know if I could do that all the time, which is why I do more guy characters, like non-gender bent characters. But it's still fun, and yeah, that's kind of that with my kind of origin story and everything.
That's an interesting origin story. And I think you definitely have a future with makeup or cosmetology or whatever you decide to do. You're, like I said already, extremely talented.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you also seem super passionate, but you told us kind of the why. Tell us the how. You said
Mhm.
October 2017?
2016.
2016. Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how I stumbled upon like cosplay. I definitely think this was at the time I was really into the anime Hetalia, and I was pretty heavily involved with the fandom, and I think I found it through there because I had this fan account, and I think I just stumbled onto someone's cosplay through there. I don't remember if it was this person that I'm thinking of because they're someone that had honestly helped me to they kind of opened my eyes to cosplay. I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. I don't remember if it was that specific person I'm thinking who was the one who got me into it to begin with, but they are definitely one of the first. They were this Hetalia cosplayer, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. Like growing up, I always loved like Halloween and stuff like that. I was always like, I want the best costume, the best this, the best that. And it's just like I was pretty satisfied at the time, but looking back, but sometimes I was like with like Halloween and stuff like that. But sometimes I was kind of looking there, I'm like, I want to do like more with this. Like I want to like make this better and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of also how it kind of stuck in me for a while was like this like love for Halloween, and like I'd be that kid that was like standing there at Party City looking at all the costumes and being like taking like an hour to pick something, and like you couldn't like try them on, at least like not like at the time, for me. So yeah, and then slowly through that I kind of got into it, and I bought my first cosplay uh mostly I think for Halloween, but also just, because I was like, oh well, I love this character, so I'm gonna get the cosplay of it. And I ended up buying contacts too. And I didn't know where to buy contacts at the time. So the contacts that I actually bought off my first pair of contacts are from Wish, which the fact I still have my eyeballs in my eyes are pretty amazing. So
I was about to say, like, I know a guy who used contacts from Wish, and like he just died. No, not actually, but like I swear he couldn't see for like a week. You're crazy.
yeah. Yeah, I used those too for like probably a year. They were still pretty good. Yeah, like they were my first and only blue pair of like blue colored contacts. So I used those, and I didn't have a problem with them. I had a lot of difficulty putting them in the first time. Like contacts are very difficult to put in the first time you do it.
Yeah.
And I remember I tried, and it was Halloween, and I was taking my little cousin out, and I had the contact case, and I was continuously like pulling my eye down, like trying to stick it in, whatever, but it wouldn't stick in. I was getting so frustrated because I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I literally had to go and grab my mom, and my mom came in and she put the contacts in my eyes for me because I couldn't do it myself. And I was a little nervous that she's gonna like poke my eye because my mom has like long nails, like she does her nails. So it's like I was like kind of worried I was gonna be poked in the eye, but at the same time, they got in. So but that was my first cosplay experience, I guess would say was Halloween. And then from there it kind of just continued on like later on in the year. But from there I guess like once 2017, I don't know what happened. I think when I got with my first partner at the time, or my second partner at the time, I got more involved with it, and I started like doing it with him as well. And that's kind of when it continued. But I also did it by myself. I did it by myself more frequently than I did it with my partner at the time. The only time I really did it with my partner was either when he was over sometimes, or when we'd go to conventions together, because I didn't know anybody in the community at the time. So I mostly just went with him, and also my cousin, who's now herself is involved in cosplay, which is great. I'm glad to have a family member that's involved. But from there, I guess like once 2017, I don't know what happened. I think when I got with my first partner at the time, or my second partner at the time, I got more involved with it, and I started like doing it with him as well. And that's kind of when it continued. But I also did it by myself. I did it by myself more frequently than I did it with my partner at the time. The only time I really did it with my partner was either when he was over sometimes, or when we'd go to conventions together, because I didn't know anybody in the community at the time. So I mostly just went with him, and also my cousin, who's now herself is involved in cosplay, which is great. I'm glad to have a family member that's involved too. And yeah, that's really from what I can remember. I don't remember specifically what kind of further got me into it. I think it was probably conventions, if I were to say, because I was really interested in going to conventions. My brother, one of my brothers, he's a big geek, so he kind of introduced me to all these conventions and stuff. And from there, I'm like, oh well, look at this like new thing that I can like go to and whatever, and an excuse to like dress up besides just locking myself away in my bathroom and filming musicallys at the time with my like that's stood just on like my on the countertop, and like lights on and whatever. That was a time. But
That's a real throwback.
oh yeah, that was kind of my beginning trope from what I can remember. I don't remember the super specifics, but that's the most I can remember of that.
Nice. That's so cool that you started off with so many people that you're close with. I guess that makes it really easy to get into a hobby and really truly embrace it.
I mean, kind of, but also at the same time, it was a little bit difficult because I didn't really know anybody. Because both of them, my partner and my cousin, were not like super into it, like not as into it as I was, and I kind of was just like, "Hey guys, I don't know anybody. Can you cosplay with me?" And I remember we went to a con together doing cosplays from free, and it was so hot with those jackets on. We were wearing shorts, but it was so hot. I remember because it was like what, I don't know, it was like spring, but like close to summer. I don't remember the months. I don't remember when cons are now because they're all gone. But it was so hot. But they kind of were like my little like tag alongs until I actually started meeting people in the community, and then that's kind of how it went from there. Now I know a lot of people in the community, which is really great. I have a lot of great cosplay friends and everything like that, and I'm grateful for all of them. So yeah, so much from that con, because I never had been to a con before, and that was my first experience, and it was huge, and it was like so many vendors and things and cosplayers and guests and this and that. Like my brother had told me about it, and he usually, like, he's not a cosplayer. He goes because he goes to like panels, and he goes to meet like the celebrities and whatever, and he like shops and stuff like that. I mean, I think everybody does shopping, but he mostly is just like, he's kind of like a comic book like nerd, as opposed to me. I'm more of like, what I am, a bit of like a weeb, I guess. But
A little bit, right? A little bit of a weeb.
a little bit, just hide the cardboard cutout in the background,
I'll edit that out. Don't worry.
um but I don't remember it so well. I remember bits and pieces of it. I remember not knowing any photographers and I would always go to the photography booths that they had set up, and which was always very overpriced. And you'd only usually get like 5-6 photos, but it was enough to kind of feed my Instagram for a little bit. But I mostly just, like, at that time I posted like selfies and stuff. That was my main thing, was just posting selfies or pictures that like my friends would take or whatever, my partner at the time would take, or anything like that. That's kind of what I remember. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, I think no, Fan Expo. Fan Expo was my second, actually. Now that I'm remembering, because I just remembered the actual first time. The first time I had went to a con was Anime North, and very hot as always. I went by myself. I went just with my brother. I think, and I was dressed as a Hetalia character. America from Italia. And what a mistake that was, because, well, I only went for one day, but it's 3 layers of clothing. It's
Yeah.
a white shirt, it's like a brown jacket, and then it's like a bomber jacket on top. And I was dying. And I don't think anybody knew who I was, because Italia had probably been long dead by then. Now it's kind of coming back, but it's like
Yeah.
back then, it's like people would kind of look at me, they'd be like, everyone at that time, I think, was like cosplaying like Voltron or Attack on Titan or whatever it was back in like 2017. So that was my real first con experience, and it was something. That's really all I can tell you. Fan Expo was good too. Fan Expo was better, but Anime North was just, I guess it was just weird because it was something that I totally wasn't used to. But I remember being pretty safe with my money, as opposed to now, where if I were to walk in a con now, like let's say that there was no, world going to shit, I think I would spend a lot of money at vendors and stuff like that, because now I have like, well, I mean, back then I didn't have like Ida bags, and I didn't have like a huge poster wall in my room like I do, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that I would have, I think I now definitely spending like hundreds of dollars, as opposed to then I probably spent maybe like $50.
Yep. That's me.
Crazy.
Yeah. I have to admit that you're jumping into the deep end, it seems like. And when I started cosplaying, I wasn't super successful with it, but I also wasn't like hyper invested. I kind of did it just because I'd be going with a group of people and they would be cosplaying, so I wouldn't want to be the odd one out. And I do enjoy it, but I also know that it's very much something that you have to kind of lead into, not only the character, but you also have to lead into the environment. And at the time when I was doing cosplay, it was a very different world. Like how you're telling me that a character that you love, at the time the series wasn't very popular, but other people were going as like Voltron characters or AOT characters. And like, to me, that's crazy, because like, usually back when I started, I'm talking like, Anime North like 2013, like
oh wow, yeah,
Fan Expo like 2011.
definitely a lot more kind of, you're a bit more of a veteran than I am.
Yeah, I'm an oldie. No, like I don't even think like I'm that deep into the scene, because it really was like 2010 forward that I started getting deep into that culture, as much as I've always been into anime. But like I was saying, going as a classic character would usually be like what people would be turning their heads to. But it seems like you going as a character that's only maybe a few seasons older, you wouldn't be drawing as much attention. Do you feel that's the same way on social media as well? Like, let's say you went as a character from like Madoka or something, and like you posted that on your social media, would you get as much attention as if you went as like Mikasa from AOT?
Gosh, I think not, because I think now mostly what my account and what kind of my thing is now is Danganronpa. So I think no, because one, it's kind of a character, like let's say it's like it's more of like a character that I feel like a lot of my followers are more like on the younger side. So I feel like either they would know that from like, actually watching it themselves, which is pretty rare, or having like an older sibling who's watched it. But I don't think that they would know that character so well. And I don't think it would draw as much attention as my stuff does, and most of my Danganronpa stuff, or doing like I've done Haikyuu, or like like, or just like a classic, like like a Disney princess, or like Princess Peach, or like Bowsette or something like that would, because it's because those are characters that are more kind of known to everybody, as opposed to something that's more of a niche, which I usually honestly try to avoid doing so much of niche things, mostly because I'm just kind of like, well, there's not like a lot of more niche characters that I like. I'd say, I guess you could say my taste is kind of basic, but I usually don't delve into that kind of stuff. Therefore, it's kind of like I don't really do that stuff. But if I were, I don't know how well it would do. I don't think it would do too well. But I try not to focus so much on numbers as much as like the actual enjoyment of it and if I like it or not. So that's mostly what I try to do right now. I'm enjoying my followers seem to really like my Danganronpa stuff, and I really like doing the Danganronpa stuff, and I'm fine with keeping that as my niche, my thing. So I'm happy doing that. And when I decide that I'm not into it anymore or whatever, I'm sure it'll be, I'm sure I'm not gonna fall into like irrelevancy or something. Like I'm sure there's still people that are gonna trail along no matter kind of what I switch to or anything like that. So yeah, numbers aren't so much to me. I'm trying not to make it so much to me, but yeah, that's kind of that.
While we're on the topic of numbers and social media, you were doing the TikTok stuff before it was known as TikTok.
Yeah.
Do you think you can tell us what platforms you started promoting on, how you differentiate between Instagram, TikTok, and what you see going forward with developing and perfecting your craft on those platforms?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I started on Instagram. I was kind of worried at the time to get like Musically, which was what it was at the time, because it was just kind of looked down upon, and I was still in high school, so I was like, I wasn't like ashamed of cosplaying, and I was like fine with having it on or Instagram, but Musically, I'm like, this is going to be so cringy. People are going to find me and they're going to be like, oh, this is so weird, because I remember having like a YouTube channel, like everybody did, trying to do something like, like simple, like whatever stuff. Like I was trying to do all like the trendy stuff, doing it really badly because I filmed off of like my phone, but my phone was like at like a very low angle, and it was like, no microphone or anything like that, nothing like extravagant, nothing like special. So I was worried because I knew that people from school found that out, and that was very embarrassing. And then I went, all right, time to delete everything. And I didn't delete, I privated all of the videos that I had up at the time, and pretty much was just like, all right, we're gonna do Instagram. My account was public because I'm like, well, if people find me from school, that's fine. It's just pictures. They are gonna, whatever. It's my kind of thing, and whatever. I started on Musically 2017, around the time that I had like properly had gotten into cosplay. I was like in grade 10 or 11 at the time. And making Musicallys as you do, the camera is moving all around and whatever. Just that's kind of how I did it. And Instagram, I didn't really have much of kind of like a posting schedule or anything like that. I mostly just posted whenever I felt like it, whether even if that was like a couple of hours apart. And then TikTok or not TikTok or Instagram, I mean, Musically, I would get into cosplay, and then I would just put a caption, put some hashtags, and post. I would post as I was making stuff.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
so I kind of like spam posted all the time. And I also didn't know that you could like save audios at the time. So I would be scrolling through like my liked videos and my favorited videos, looking for audios and stuff like that, or like going onto audio accounts and stuff like that. Like there were no like Daycore, Nightcore like accounts back then.
Yeah.
So this was mostly just Sunrise Music or whatever it was, which is like these like sped up songs or whatever, slow down songs. Or then there was like the sad tunes page. I remember where it was like, if you ever want to make any like sad angsty stuff, which I love to do that still now.
Yeah, so, I do too. Don't worry.
Oh, it's so fun.
It
So
is.
kind of what I would that's what I would use and do and stuff like that. I'd be sitting there in my bathroom because I was afraid. I was always in my bathroom because I was nervous about like my mom or my dad or my brother coming into my room and they'd see me and they'd like laugh at me. I was worried. I was like really embarrassed. Also, 'cause I didn't think I looked like that good. Now I just sit. I have this room in here. This isn't my bedroom. This is actually like a second extra bedroom that we had. So it's basically become kind of my cosplay room. So I've got like
Nice.
all my costumes in the closet and on racks, and my wigs are all over here and over here, everywhere. There's stuff everywhere. um, but I was really embarrassed. So I would stay in my room, in my bathroom, and I would just be in there for hours filming stuff and taking pictures and everything like that. And it was really fun for me, I remember. And like now, I was in cosplay for like hours and hours. And I would just be really like happy. And I'd go back and I'd look at all the things that I posted and everything. Although I wish I hadn't done that because I wish I had had a bit more of like a filter, or not a filter, but like I wish I kind of spaced stuff out more, because if I had done that, then I would have had more content to post throughout like the week or whatever, as opposed to just here's all my stuff from this day, and then like 2 weeks later, here's all my stuff from this day. But yeah, that's kind of that. So at the time, I didn't really have much of a posting schedule for either of them. It was pretty kind of just when I felt like it, as opposed to now it's like TikTok is daily and Instagram is every 2 to 3 days.
Okay. That's a very frequent and interesting schedule that you have up. When I was starting off with cosplay,
Mhm.
and like even before actually, let me go back a little bit. I've always loved anime and manga and video games and all of that. Like it's I literally grew up with it because my uncle was very much into Star Wars and my cousins were into Pokemon as well, so I was surrounded by it. But like I remember there was a time when we had like, you probably wouldn't know, but there's something called geosites, which would like, it was like a web hosting sort of thing where you could make your own web page, and people would like put all of their cosplays there, and like they would have like blog spots where like they would write about, or like live journal, they'd write about the conventions they went to, and they'd have pictures of like events they went to, and if they were designing an outfit they would show you like step by step. Cosplay was very small back then though, like only weebs were doing it, right? And
Mhm.
it was interesting because there was no set standard for how you get your content out there, and there were very popular cosplayers at the time, but they were
Mhm.
few and far between, and like no one really knew what the rules were. We didn't know if you needed to post once a week. We didn't know if you only posted when conventions would come around, because like people would only be interested in cosplay during conventions. But
Mhm.
hearing how you're very calculated with the way you release your artwork to the world, but also like how like you're very organized and you're very set up, how you have your own personal room, and like you went through the whole like, you felt it was cringy for you to do this, but then after you got over that hurdle you really embraced what your work was and you delved head on into it. That's an amount of dedication that didn't really exist in the past. So when I
Mhm.
see cosplayers being so dedicated to their craft today, it's so amazing to me how far the art form has come.
Mhm.
And like even like how you're so young but you can already establish the fact that like you knew what your mistakes were in the beginning, you know what your audience is into, you know how to cultivate your content, and you know how and when to distribute it. It seems like you're pretty aware of like what the scene is and in what direction it's going in.
I would say that, yeah. I'm pretty careful and everything like that with uh things that I post and things that I everything. I try to craft my um profile and everything the best I can. I like everybody. And just, not being stupid, and not doing anything wrong. There's so many, like I feel like it's almost on a daily where I see like cosplayers getting canceled for things. So it's always like I'm always very careful with how I craft my image and stuff like that. And things I do, I'm not going to do anything shitty like all these other people are doing. Um, so I'm 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 very careful. I try to be very, very careful with everything that I do. So,
The canceling thing, like I I'm happy there's accountability within the cosplay community. Let me give you another horror story from back in the old days.
uh-oh.
Have you ever heard of glomping?
It sounds familiar, but I cannot put a term to it. Or
Don't
definitely.
don't worry. We've eradicated the entire thing about glomping. Basically, if you were at a con, there used to be strangers that would like run up and hug you like out of nowhere. Like you would be
Oh.
walking from a panel, you'd be talking with your friends, and someone would like literally jump on you and hug you and go glomp. Like it was so obnoxious and it was really weird. But a lot of them would do it as like a form of affection, and they would do it if they liked your cosplay. And like I don't know if you've ever been to like convention parties, but like Anime North is known for some of their like wild parties and like just like it's so great after like Fan Expo or like now Comic Con to like hang out with everyone else outside of the conventions. But I think there weren't boundaries that were put in place in the earlier days, and I'm grateful now for platforms like Twitter because we're now bringing to attention like there are people who were notorious for making other cosplayers uncomfortable, or there were gatekeepers within the community that would like be really shitty to newer cosplayers and kind of like force them into like boxes when it came to developing their style or like what outfits they could wear, or like forcing them to wear certain outfits or forcing them to work with certain photographers doing certain shoots that they wouldn't want to do.
Mhm.
So I'm very grateful that social media has made more people accountable and has like not only made cosplay more mainstream but has normalized it to the point where like the creeps are starting to become less prevalent. But
Yeah.
it like I also feel that sometimes, and I could be wrong, just with my opinion, I feel like sometimes we miss the greater point of what social media is supposed to be. There are times when cosplayers are getting canceled because the content they've been putting out for the last month doesn't line up with what their previous followers are into. So now all of a sudden they feel frustrated towards this user. They see this user isn't going back to how they used to be when that person started following them, and then they go out of their way to like dig up old tweets or start harassing them on their posts.
Mhm.
Or like I don't know if you've ever encountered any sort of like weirdos online trying to get at you because of the content you're posting, but it just seems like there's now like that new guard on the internet where trolls can come in and do what they can to instigate and agitate a cosplayer to the point where they fuck up even when they don't mean to.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that, but I've never had that personally, and I don't think I really know of anybody, any of my friends or anything that have had that sort of experience, luckily. But yeah, I've definitely seen that before. And as a whole, I think that like cancel culture is, I mean, it's good for people who deserve it, people who have said horrible things or done horrible things. And, if they're not, and when they have done it and are brought aware of this issue or whatever that they're doing, but still don't change, that's when you take that kind of public action, which I have seen really recently. If you don't prove that you can't change, then that's the reason it should go public. If you're getting like canceled for like I don't know. I'm trying to think of like some ridiculous reason like not liking like a ship in a series or something. Then that's a little much. Something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. Cancel culture is a bit of a difficult topic because it's something you have to really be careful with what kind of you say with it. You kind of have to tiptoe around it. But I don't know. It's terrifying, but it's something that some people, especially bigger creators who may have done something horrible, uh, definitely deserve. They deserve that. The victim, if there is victims, deserve that. The just their followers deserve to know that, deserve to know the truth and everything like that, so that they can avoid said person.
Absolutely. And like that's also one of my points. Like when back in the day, photographers would be very aggressive or like too assertive with cosplayers, and there was no accountability, there was no documentation, no one really knew, right? Now
Mhm.
that cosplay and like the internet and social media has grown so much, we have that accountability, and it's created a more enjoyable community for everyone to like create in and be active in.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about anime.
Sure.
You're clearly a huge weeb, and I think if you cosplay anime, you have to really like a series. You have to really understand the character.
Oh yeah.
Do you think you could tell us some of your favorite series, some of your favorite characters, and what about them has inspired you to bring this to life through your craft?
Okay. My favorite series, that's a good question. Um, in terms of like anime, I really like my favorite is probably Mob Psycho, one of my favorites.
Nice.
Such a great series. I've
Yeah.
only cosplayed once from it. It's pretty simple to cosplay. Like I have the outfit and I have a wig, but I haven't done it in a hot minute, but I would really like to do it again and do a shoot for it. I think it'd be really cool. Um, I really like Devilman Crybaby. That's probably one of my other favorites. The stuff you can do with that is really good. I did a shoot a little while back, back when shoots were a thing, as Rio from Devilman, and that was really cool. I was in like a neon studio. That was
Nice.
probably one of my favorite shoots ever. The photos are so amazing. The photographer, Wendy, she's very talented. Like I go to her for all of my photos and everything, and she always like I do so much with her. She messages me whenever she has like a studio, like back when she would like book studios before the world shut down, and she'd be like, "Hey, I have this shoot going on. Do you want me to save you a slot?" And I'm like, "Oh." Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh yeah," or sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, maybe I don't know." Depending on if I had other people with me. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. Where it was, and also what I could do for it, because I cannot always bring Danganronpa to a shoot. As much as I love it, I have to differentiate a little bit because I do want some other stuff when I go to studio shoots. Especially, I
Yeah.
want to do stuff with really cool outfits. Like I just restyled my Bowsette wig, so I'm planning on doing a shoot as her eventually when cons come back, and then I want to get a wig for Princess Peach and do her, and then eventually I want to get a new Belle dress and wig and do her again. But I um I really like um I mean Hetalia was my first anime, so it kind of has like a little place in my heart as iffy as that is to say, because I know that it's got some bad jokes, but it it's something that is just it's kind of like nostalgic for me because it was my kind of introduction into it. I was very basic until high school when I actually got introduced to anime, which my first was Italia, and then Sao and Oron. Those are my three starting ones, which were
Nice.
pretty good starting ones.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I really like. I'm just like trying to think. I like Promise Neverland. I do really want
I
to.
I love Promise Neverland, just not season 2.
I haven't like gotten to watch season two yet because I'm kind of like because I'm hearing all this like different stuff about it. It's like people are like, I don't know. I'm just like, should I just read the manga instead?
Yeah, read the manga. Trust me,
Okay.
trust me. Like, you know what? I'm sorry. Watch it if you want, right? Like,
Yeah.
but like, okay. Did you ever watch Tokyo Ghoul or read Tokyo Ghoul?
Yeah, I watched like the first I have this problem where I watch the first season of things and I never finish it. Like I watched Tokyo Ghoul like years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I loved it, but I just never continued on with it. I could not tell you why. I just never continued on with it.
If you ever decide to continue with it, just stick with the manga because the anime is so trash. It's really, really bad. And now Promise Neverland is going to take the title as the worst follow-up season of any anime that I have ever seen. It's such a shit adaptation. I'm sorry, it's just so bad.
No, I hear you. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of different things about it, but I heard it's like kind of going more original. So it's like I'm like, I don't know. Why aren't you like staying true to the story?
Yeah, there's a lot of theories as to why, but yeah, if you're a fan of it, go for it. But otherwise, you can skip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I only kind of just started watching it, but I'm really into JoJo. I really like that.
Yo, I have been into JoJo for like so many years. I read it, and then like when the anime was coming out, I was telling all of my friends like, guys, this will literally change the face of anime. This is going to make anime meme worthy. It's going to make everything so fun. And people are like, what's this weird show? Who's Jonathan Joestar? It's a great series.
It's so great. Like I even like my other brother, I have two brothers. My other brother who's he lives here with me. He's like not into anime. He's not into cosplay, anything like that. He's like nothing about that.
He's
I have
normal.
very
Okay.
polar opposite brothers. But I was like, so he was over with his girlfriend a little while back, and I'm like, why don't we watch JoJo? I think you're really gonna like it because I'm like, I know you're not into anime, but I feel like you would like this because I know a lot of people who don't really like anime really like JoJo. And people who are not big into anime really like JoJo. And so he's like, oh, maybe. And then his girlfriend's like, yeah, let's watch it. And then he's like, all right, fine, because that's just how it works, I guess. And we watched it. We watched, I think, like 7 episodes because it was really late. And they loved it. Like they were so into it. And my brother's like, he loved it. He loved the story. He loved everything about it. And I was only just part one. So yeah, it was a little bit of a game changer. Maybe I'll actually get him to cosplay JoJo with me. That would be kind of cool.
That would be really cool.
But Haikyuu is good. I like Haikyuu. I kind of tapped out of it a little bit. I love it and I love the characters, but I kind of tapped out of it for a bit because I'm like, this is good, but like it's also kind of boring sometimes. And then and then like when I was watching like the same thing kind of happened. The same thing has happened before with other animes. It's like I kind of just tap out of it. Happened with Free too. When I was watching that, I was like, this is really good, but like I'm kind of bored. But definitely something I don't feel that way with is JoJo. I'm just holding off the parts right now because I don't want to cry because I know I'm gonna cry.
Where are you at right now?
Cry. But yeah, and My Hero I'm currently watching as well. Finally giving into the hype of My Hero, which is kind of terrifying because that fandom is terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
It's
coming crazy.
Coming from someone who was in the Hitalia fandom, that is a terrifying fandom. But Hitalia is worse on many, many levels. But My Hero is so scary. But yeah, those are kind of the stuff I'm into. But I kind of am a little bit fixated on Danganronpa right now. So that's kind of my biggest thing. I love all the characters. My goal is to cosplay every single character from the series.
Wow.
I'm pretty good so far. If you can kind of see behind me, those are all my Danganronpa cosplays on that rack there.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and most of my wigs and everything are all.
I can see the reflection of some of your wigs.
Oh yeah. I've got some of the crazy whatever wigs. I really try to make my wigs crazy as much as I can. So, but
Nice.
that's kind of my big fixation right now is Danganronpa and everything.
So what draws you to that series? Because I look at your social media, like I'm not that familiar with the series. I think her name is Junko. Yeah, she's incredible. Like I've seen so many clips on YouTube. My friends stand the series so heavy. And I like the character design. I do like some of them, but you really bring Junko to life. Like I know she's like fucking crazy, and you just you have that like insanity thing, but you also put so much effort and thought into your cosplay. What about her draws you to that character?
Um, I honestly like when I first got into Danganronpa, like what 2 years ago maybe. Um, I remember being told by some past friends that they were like, "You should get into Danganronpa. You would look really good as Junko." And I'm like, "Junko, isn't that the girl with the big hair?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, she's kind of cool." And from there, I bought the cosplay because I was like, "All right, I'm gonna try this because it looks fun." And I was pretty excited and everything. I'm like, "She's cool." And then when I was watching the series, um, she just seemed like a really cool character. I was about to almost spoil, but I'm not going to spoil because you said you haven't watched it. And also for anybody else that's watching,
Thank you.
um, yes, spoilers are a big thing to worry about in the Danganronpa community. So yeah, she's just a really crazy character. Really, like she's so problematic in so many ways, but she's a villain that you hate her but you love her. It's like this love-hate relationship. I feel the same way about her, the same way I feel about Dio. So they're kind of similar in some way.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it's just she looked really cool, and I hadn't done many girl characters in a while. I'm like, this is a cool girl character to try. And then I'm like, all right, well, I can't go with this simple little pig clip on pigtailed wig. I got to make this a little bit better. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to style wigs at that time. And I'm like trying to find somebody. I was like, I found somebody to style my wig, and it made it into that big monstrosity that you've probably seen now. Um, she did an incredible job. She was really fast. And it still held up pretty well after like a year or so. So it just needs to be like respiked, but I don't want to touch it because it's not my work. I don't want to mess it up. But it's probably like one of my favorite wigs. She's just a really cool character, and she has a lot of different personalities and everything like that. She's very just crazy, and I like being chaotic, which is why I like a lot of the other characters that I do. But I also like depending on like the characters I like to act as like the more crazy characters, but the characters that are like my favorite are usually um either the ones that are really like cheerful and like happy and whatever and like kind of like annoying or like the really like kind of shy type characters. Those are the kind of characters that I really like. But Junko is definitely one of my favorite characters to do, but because I've done so many of them, I've kind of now established this is the characters that I like and this is the characters I don't like because doing literally almost, I want to say a good majority of the cast of like the different throughout the different games, I've picked which characters I like doing more than others. And also like my opinions have changed on a lot of the characters through cosplaying them and stuff like that, and also through the fandom and things like that. So that's kind of like the good element of that, is that like I've learned to like characters I wouldn't have really thought that I like. So um I think the thing that kind of just draws me to that series is just it's just interesting. It's a really cool game. Um it's very long. Pulls at your heartstrings a lot. And it's also just like the characters are really cool. They all have really interesting and deep backstories, and I just think it's just a really good game. And um, there's just so many different types of characters and so many different just anything. Like you can really like I don't know you really have kind of every single type of character because there's so many. Um, there are like some of the issues with some of the stuff with the characters and things like that, but most of that is pretty easily resolved or being resolved or whatever. So that's mostly that. There is some questionable stuff, but most of it is pretty good, I would say.
Nice. I'll check it out. I'll get very invested into the series, I feel.
Oh yeah, it's really good. You'll love the story and the games and everything like that. It's really, really good.
Cool. I have a couple more questions for you.
Hmm.
What advice do you have for new cosplayers, whether they want to do what you do and bring their craft to social media platforms, or if they want to jump into the deep end and go to big events?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I literally had just like made a TikTok about like tips for beginner cosplayers and stuff like that, but that more so revolved around like doing your favorite character, which is a big thing. Do your favorite character, um practice with makeup. But makeup is not always necessary, but sometimes it can give a little bit of like a flair and like an add-on to like a bit of like a standout to that character and the way that you bring that character to life. Um, Doing that, just practicing with it and eventually kind of finding your own style with it. Styling wigs is probably the biggest advice that I can give because it's so important and it's going to cost a lot more money if you have someone else style your wig for you than learning how to do it yourself and having a bit of trial and error. Um, find a consistent posting schedule on like your platforms that you use, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, like I don't know what else. Facebook, people still use Facebook. I don't know. Twitter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like kind of it doesn't have to be like daily. It can be like weekly or twice a week or three times a week or whatever. It just depends on how much content you have. Um don't feel bad about like buying cosplays instead of making them. There's no shame in buying cosplays. Everybody's different. Not everybody is crafty in that way, and that's totally fine. But if you are, that's also great. If you want to learn to do that, that's great. More than I can do. Um, uh, be careful with places you get cosplays from, like wigs or contacts and makeup products and outfits themselves. Be careful who you trust within the community, I think is a big thing. Um, just be careful online, as you would if you were doing anything else online. Be careful, be mindful of what you post, be mindful of what you say, be mindful of what you do. Um, don't let any like don't let any sort of different thing about you like stop you, whether that means you have a disability or you know I feel like some cosplayers are kind of they feel almost discouraged because of like the color of their skin. I see that a lot, and I see how much hate or anything like that people get, like POCs get, for cosplaying their favorite characters because they're not that skin color, which why does it matter? Why me as a white person do I get all the praise for doing a Japanese character? Meanwhile, someone who's black or Asian or whatever is like not getting as much attention or is just getting hatred. That's not fair. I think like I know that there is all that hate out there, and obviously I can't I can't speak for those people, but um I guess just keep doing it if you love it. That's what's the important thing at the end, because in the end it's not a competition, it's about having fun. And whether that means you take it more seriously or not, it's still fun in the end, and you can stop it whenever you want. You don't have to stick to it forever. It's not something that's going to stay there forever. Even if it's like you're making money off of it, there's other things you can do if you're not into it anymore. And if you decide to still do something online where you're having a platform, I'm sure if you have loyal followers, um, they'll still go to you, and people will still be interested in what you do. Um, I think my biggest thing that I wish I knew when I was starting out was getting a ring light and a phone stand, or even just having somewhere better than like, kind of like down here to like prop your phone up where you have like this really like not attractive angle. Get some kind of phone stand or ring light or film during the daytime or have a lot of lighting or whatever. But I think the best thing is to get a ring light. That's one of my things that I will always preach for is getting a ring light. um yeah, I'm not really sure what else. Just like have fun. Like just like do what you love, do your heart contents. I mean, there's no there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just how you perceive it.
That's great advice, and it's really amazing to hear you say some of the things that you said. Um, Thank you for that. I really appreciate hearing that because it also shows that the cosplay community has come so far from when I first got into it, and those within the community who are making such big ripples like you are, they're aware of what's going on outside of the community as well, and they know how it impacts it. So
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you. I really appreciate everything you do and your stance. Thanks.
Thank
Last question. How do you think cosplay and conventions will change once we all are able to come back and hang out with each other?
Wow. I think obviously it's going to be um, a smaller turnout, even for cons like Fan Expo or any big cons like that. Um, I mean, depending on regulations at that time, I feel like we probably still will be wearing masks. Um, Even if we're not, it's going to be like, be a little bit more careful or whatever. Just I feel like everyone's kind of be going to be more of a clean freak once cons come back. They're constantly sanitizing. Maybe even the vendor booths will have like hand sanitizer for people and stuff like that. Um, I'm hoping they'll be pretty much the same. Besides that, um, I'm just I'm just hoping for like the best outcome possible, and just I don't know, just like I'm excited for them to return and everything. I want to see them come back and like to see like my friends and meet new people and stuff like that. I find conventions are such a great way to meet new people in the community, and there's so many great people out there that are in the community and everything. So besides that, I feel like I just hope they come back and they're still, give you or whoever that kind of rush that you feel kind of in the morning to get ready for a con and everything like that. Oh, it's such a great feeling. It's the only excuse I have to wake up early is doing something like that and getting ready for a con. It's like you wake up at like 7 a.m. It's like it's not for school, but it's for a con. It's like really cool. It's like, like back, like literally what, when like the last con was there, was around, I think was that, no, I wasn't still in school. I was like, I think I was still in school, but I wasn't. But for most of the time that I had started going to conventions, I was in school. So it's like the only time that I'd wake up that early is for school. Um, and which probably sounds like such a foreign thing now because I feel like people wake up at like 10 p.m. now or 10 p.m. 10 a.m. for school now because of like how it is online. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's lucky. Wish I could wake up at 10 a.m. for school.
I know,
I
right? We missed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, no, I had to wake up back in my day. I had to wake up at 7 in the morning to go to school. Go to school, no mask, no nothing. I had to interact with people. There's not like regulations with like wearing masks and like hand sanitizer 24/7, Wow, it's such a foreign thing to me.
It is. Even just like we're joking about it now, but like that is going to be a reality for people and they're not
Yeah,
going to know anything different.
that's so weird. It's gonna be like, I mean, like I feel bad also because like especially for like people like I have a friend who's in their last year of high school. And it's like, damn, that like sucks. It's like because like school sucks. But it's also like I can't imagine not having those like going to school memories and stuff like that. Like just going to school and like going into classes and stuff like that and like having lunches like at like the lunch table, like going out for lunches and stuff like that and like hanging with friends and things like that. It feels so like it just like I feel bad for like people in school and stuff like that because they can't like do anything like that. But hopefully cons when they come back will be just as fun and just as good. And just I don't know, I can't wait for them to come back. I have so many plans. I have so many plans and I feel like since the last time I went to a con, which was January 2019, I have like improved so much since then and like I would really love to go back to a con and be like this is my thing, this is my showcase. I also really miss seeing those cosplay like music videos where they have like the cosplay showcases and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And like I've been a part of some of those too, which are like they're like the funnest thing ever. I don't know. It's like 5 minutes where they're just like filming you, but it's like so like I don't know, I feel really special. And
Glamorous, yeah.
yeah, you feel like that's what I really like about going to cons is like you feel like kind of like a celebrity in a way. When you're like cosplaying like a certain character or whatever. Like I remember when I was cosplaying Belle at Fan Expo, I love kids. So it's like I all these like little kids, they have like these wide eyes and they'd be like and they like get so excited. They like think you're the real thing and they'd run over and like I remember I think I hugged like probably 20 like little kids. I'm like, oh, this is so cute. They were all so cute. They were so excited. And like I remember like one time there was like the kids that were like, oh my god, are you the real princess? Are you the real Princess Bella? I'm like, yeah, I am. Like I didn't want to break the magic and they just lit up. They just lit up and all the parents were like, this is like Disneyland.
Wow.
um that's why I really want to like bring back princesses and stuff like that, especially to a con, because I know it's just so cute to see like the little kids' reaction or even just people's reaction. Because I remember when I walked into that con, people were like, I'm like, yeah, I'm the coolest here. I'm just like, all right, all right.
Alright, sick.
Even as Junko, I remember when I walked in at Fan Expo the first time I had done Junko, second time I had done Junko to a con, and there was this like I was going through the like thing to actually get into the con. I was going past my tickets, and there was this like security guard that was there. He looked at me and he's like, "You need to go to Japan. You'd be so big in Japan." I'm like, I mean, I'll go to Japan. Sure, you want to like give me a flight ticket or something? I'll bring my wig. It's literally in a huge box, but I
Wow.
will bring it on a plane or whatever. Um, I don't know. It was just like it's a good con memories, and I just miss that. I miss like the everything about it. So I hope it comes back soon, but as this like when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited for when everything comes back because just hearing these stories, it reminds me of the good old days, even though it wasn't that long ago, but it still feels like forever. And I'm
It
really looking forward to the future.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it was like years and years ago, like 5 years ago. But it was like it's only like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like when I look back at like the pictures and whatever, I'm just like, this was only 2 years ago. This was only 2 years ago. This feels like a century ago. Like what's going on here? So it'll be fun when I get to go back and everything, and like especially because I feel like I've made so many more friends through the cosplay community. I feel like there's so many more things I can do. Like I had a lot of cool plans too, so hopefully I can stick with those plans and still keep going with them and everything, and also just hopefully sooner than that, just being able to do photo shoots because I'm tired of standing against this wall with my ring light and putting my phone up and stand, doing the poses. And it's like editing. And it's like I want to like have something different.
Yeah.
Nobody here in my household can take pictures. I'm sorry. My mom can probably hear me say that, but they cannot take pictures. I'm sorry. They do not know how to take good pictures. Like, not like a photographer can, not like another cosplayer can. So I'm just waiting for the day that I can be like, hey, can we like shoot now? I'm like kind of desperate for content in like a cool studio or something. Like, I don't know. Hopefully that'll come back really soon once things kind of get a little better
Soon come, soon come.
soon.
Allison, this was a wicked interview. You're an awesome person, and this
Thank
was
you.
a very, very fun talk.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that there, like I said earlier, that there's people like you in the community who are so passionate about the series and the art that they do and the people that are within that community as well. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this interview. This was Allison. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug?
My Instagram and TikTok, same on both platforms, Cosplaytastic.
Links will be in the description below. Thank you everyone for coming by, and take care. That was lit.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. Thank you.